Welcome to the new book releases for the week of February the 12th. Even though it's Valentine's week, this list is not romance heavy. So if that's what you were looking for, I am sorry. But there are timestamps per genre, and I wiggled the camera, didn't I? Oops. I'm Morgan. If you haven't been here before, I hope you find something good to pick up off this list, and let's go ahead and get started. Also, if it's your first time here, I'm going to mispronounce things, like probably really bad. Please don't hold it against me. We're going to start, though, with fiction, and this one is a translated work. It's already a bestseller in Japan, and this cover is just adorable, and it sounds so cute. It's the Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashawi and translated by Jesse Kirkwood. What's the one dish you do anything to taste just one more time? Down a quiet back street in Kyoto exists a very special restaurant run by Kiyoshi Kamigawa and her father Nagar. The Kamigawa Diner serves up deliciously extravagant meals, but that's not the main reason customers stop by. The father-daughter duo are food detectives. Through ingenious investigations, they are able to recreate dishes from a person's treasured memories, dishes that may well hold the keys to their forgotten past and future happiness. The restaurant of lost recipes provides a link to vanished moments, creating a present full of possibility. Our next fiction is supposed to be marketed to fans of Daisy Jones and the Six, and there was another book listed, I don't remember. It's The Last Days of the Midnight Ramblers by Sarah Tomelson. 3 rock and roll icons, 2 explosive tell-all memoirs, 1 ghostwriter stuck in the middle. Anki Bourbon is ready to tell all. A legendary model and style icon, she reveled in the headline-grabbing romances with not 1, but 3 members of the hugely influential rock band, the Midnight Ramblers. The band members were as famous for their backstage drama as for their music, and Anki is the only one who fully understands the tangled relationship, betrayals, and suspicions that have added to the Ramblers' enduring appeal and mystique. That is most evident in the mystery around Anki's role in the death of Mao, the band's founder and Anki's husband, in 1969. When Mari Hawthorne accepts the job to work with Anki on her memoir, she is dead set on getting to the truth of Mao's death. She's always been deft at navigating the fatal charms of celebrities, having grown up with a narcissistic, alcoholic father. As she ingratiates herself into the world of the band, she grows enchanted, against her better judgment, by these legendary rock stars. She knows she can't get pulled in too deep, otherwise she'll compromise her objectivity and her integrity. Next up is a historical fiction, which also slightly blends in fantasy, so it's a good transition one here. That's going to be The Fox Wife by Yangzi Cho, Manchuria, 1908. In the last years of the dying Qing Empire, a courtesan is found frozen in a doorway. Her death is clouded by rumors of foxes, which are believed to lure people by transforming themselves into beautiful women and handsome men. Bao, a detective with an uncanny ability to sniff out the truth, is hired to uncover the dead woman's identity. Since childhood, Bao has been intrigued by the fox gods, yet they've remained tantalizingly out of reach. Until, perhaps, now. Meanwhile, a family who owns a famous Chinese medicine shop can cure ailments but can't escape the curses that afflicts them. Their eldest sons die before their 24th birthdays. When a disruptively winsome servant named Snow enters their household, the family's luck seems to change. Or does it? Snow is a creature of many secrets, but most of all, she's a mother seeking vengeance for her lost child. Hunting a murderer, she will follow the trail from northern China to Japan, while Bao follows doggedly behind. Navigating the myths and misconception of fox spirits, both Snow and Bao will encounter old friends and new foes, even as more deaths occur. We'll move into fantasy. Whereas the last fiction was historical with hints of sounding like fantasy, this first one, even its blurb says it's historical fiction, and the description sounds more like fiction with hints of supernatural fantasy. But it's going to be in a fantasy adult book box. I don't know. You guys can tell me in the comments what your thoughts on this one sound like. And let me know if you think it does deserve to be classified as fantasy. It's The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. January 1918. Laura Ivan was a revered field nurse until she was wounded and discharged from the medical corps, leaving behind a brother still fighting in Flanders. Now home in Halifax, Canada, Laura receives word of Freddie's death in combat, along with his personal effects, but something doesn't make sense. Determined to uncover the truth, Laura returns to Belgium as a volunteer at a private hospital, where she soon hears whispers about a haunted trenches and a strange hotelier? Whose wine gives soldiers the gift of oblivion. Could Freddie have escaped the battlefield only to fall prey to something or someone else? In November 1917, Freddie Ivan awakens after an explosion to find himself trapped in an overturned pillbox with a wounded enemy soldier, a German by the name of Hans Winter. Against all odds, the two form an alliance and succeed in clawing their way out. Unable to bear the thought of returning to the killing fields, especially on opposite sides, They take refuge with a mysterious man who seems to have the power to make the hellscape of the trenches disappear. As the shells rain down on Flanders and ghosts move among the yet living, Laura and Freddie's deepest traumas are reawakened. Now they must decide whether their world is worth salvaging or better left behind entirely. It really, really sounds historical fiction. Then another book that's going to be in an adult box is going to be Flame in the North by Lilith St. Croix. It's the first in the Blacklands Bane series. And I really also thought this came out last year. Yet again, it was probably when I was looking at my anticipated releases for this year. I'm confused now. I don't know. The Blacklands is a myth. Centuries have passed since that great enemy was slain. Yet old fears linger, and on the longest night of the year, people in the south still light ritual bonfires to banish the dark. In her village, this duty falls to Solvig, a girl favored by the gods with powerful fire magic. But when her brother kills a northern lord's son during the ritual, it is Sol who faces punishment by being Weregild, part hostage, part guest, in the north for a year and a day. As she journeys to her captivity, Sol starts to realize that the Blacklands is no myth. The forests teem with foul beasts. Her travel companions are not what they seem, and their plans for her magic are shrouded in secrecy. With only her loyal shield maiden and her own wits to rely upon, Sol must learn to master her powers and wrest control of her fate. For the Blacklands army stirs, ready to cover the world in darkness, unless Sol can find the courage to stop it. Then we have a dark academia-themed one, An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. Deep in the forgotten hills of Massachusetts stands St. Perpetua's College. Isolated and ancient, it is not a place for timid girls. Here, secrets are currency, ambition is lifeblood, and strange ceremonies welcome students into the fold. On the first day of class, Laura Sheridan is thrust into an intense academic rivalry with the beautiful and enigmatic Carmilla. Together, they are drawn into the confidence of their demanding poetry professor, De La Fontaine, who holds her own dark obsession with Carmilla. But as their rivalry blossoms into something far more delicious, Laura must confront her own strange hungers. Tangled in a sinister game of politics, bloodthirsty professors, and magic, Laura and Carmilla must decide how much they are willing to sacrifice in their ruthless pursuit of knowledge. Then we have The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. Casey Andrews works in a New York City bookshop, shelving books, making coffee for customers, and living an unassuming ordinary life, until one day one of her favorite customers, a lonely yet charming old man, dies right in front of her. Casey is devastated. She always loved his stories, and now she has nothing to remember him by, nothing but the last book he was reading. But it was no ordinary book. It is The Book of Doors. Inscribed with enigmatic words and mysterious drawings, it promises Casey that any door is every door. You just need to know how to open them. Then she's approached by a gaunt stranger in a rumpled black suit with a Scottish brogue who calls himself Dermond Fox. He's a librarian who keeps watch over the unique set of rare volumes. The tome now in Cassie's possession is not the only book with great power, but it is the most coveted by those who collect them. Now Cassie is being hunted by those few who know the special books. Our last fantasy is Stormheim, The Train Through Time by Richard Blanco. After her homeworld was destroyed by an anomaly in the form of a massive nimbus, Shaw was rescued by a galactic empire and now serves as a protector, one of an elite force whose goal is to save survivors from world-ending threat and find a way to end it once and for all. The elders on her new homeworld believe that the key to stopping the anomaly lies with Shaw and her connection to a planet called Gaia, inhabited by a highly advanced human species. So Shaw gathers a team and departs, only for an explosion to open a dimensional rift that swallows her whole ship. When she crash lands on Gaia and finds a medieval feudal society on the verge of extinction, Shaw and her crew must fight for their lives in a dangerous world full of monstrous AI, rival clans eager to start a war, and a sinister warlord who knew they would come, and is planned for this moment. If they fail, not only will Gaia fall, but all hope for stopping the anomaly will die. Next up, we are moving into YA fantasy, and our first one is the new book in the Gilded Ones series, which is The Eternal Ones by Namina Forner. Our first book follows 16-year-old Decca as she lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she will become a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her natural intuition, Decca prays for red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the color of impurity, and Decca knows she will face the consequences worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the emperor of an army of girls just like her. They are called Alkai, mere mortals with rare gifts, and they are the only ones who can stop the Empire's greatest threat. Then we have Dead Things Are Closer Than They Appear by Robin Wesley. High school is hard enough to survive without an apocalypse to navigate. Sid Spencer has always been the most normal girl in her abnormal hometown, a tourist trap built over one of the fault lines that seal magic away from the world. Meanwhile, all Sid has to deal with is hair-running humidity, painful awkwardness, being one of the 4 Asians in town, and her friends dumping her when they start dating each other, just days after one of the most humiliating romantic rejections faced by anyone. Then someone kills one of the guardians who protect the seal. The earth rips open and unleashes the magic trapped inside. Monsters crawl from the ground. No one can enter or leave, and the man behind it all is roaming the streets with a gang of violent vigilantes. Suddenly, Sid's life becomes a lot less ordinary. When she finds out her missing brother is involved, she joins the remaining Guardians, desperate to find him and close the fault lines for good. And in Sci-Fi's this week, we have The Imposition of Unnecessary Obstacles by Malka Older. This is the second in the investigations of Massa and Paletti, the first one being the mimicking of known success. In this one, investigator Massa has returned to Valengard on a missing persons case, for which she'll once again need Paletti's insight, as 17 students and staff members have disappeared from Valengard University, and yet no one has noticed. The answers to this case may lie on the moon of Io, Moss's home, and the history of Jupiter's original settlements during humanity's exodus from Earth. And then we have Algernon by C.E. Taylor, a hidden people not so hidden anymore. The hidden realm of Algernon has existed in peaceful isolation for centuries, but that's about to change. The enemy across the abyss has discovered them and is intent on conquest. Lieutenant Darman Tate has a great love for his homeland and a greater understanding of this position in the world. When he discovers a plot by fellow officers to join the enemy and overthrow Algernon, he and his colleagues spring into action to defend the hidden realm from its foes, those without and those within. The ensuing struggle magnifies Algernon's vulnerability and exposes the collusion of a growing body of citizens, signifying an uncertain and bloody future. For horror, we have the second novella in the Sworn Soldier series, What Beasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. We're still following retired soldier Alex Easton as he's returning in this horrifying new adventure. After their terrifying ordeal at Usher Manor, Alex Easton feels as if they just survived another war. All they crave is rest, routine, and sunshine. But instead, as a favor to Agnes and Miss Potter, they find themselves heading to their family hunting lodge, deep in the cold, damp forest of their home country, Galicia. Then, our thriller for the week is Original Sins by Aaron Young. It's a brutal winter in Des Moines, Iowa. The city is gripped by fear. A serial attacker known as the Sin Eater is stalking women and is just struck again. It's a tough time and a tough place for Riley Fisher, a former small-town sergeant, to be reporting for duty as an FBI agent on her first assignment. Teamed with a man she's not sure she can trust and struggling to prove herself while fighting the pull of her old life and family dramas, Riley is tasked with investigating a vicious death threat against the newly elected female state governor. Gradually, she traces a disturbing connection between the case and the hunt for the Sin Eater. Through snow, ice, and violent lies, Riley Fisher is drawn towards a mysterious, terrifying revelation. Our mystery, though, takes us on a bit of a lighter note, at least. It's The Framed Women of Ardmore House by Brandy Scholes. Jo Jones has always had a little trouble fitting in. As a neurodivergent book editor and divorced New Yorker transplanted into the English countryside, Jo doesn't know what stands out more, her Americanism or her autism. After losing her job, her mother, and her marriage all in 1 year, she couldn't be happier to take possession of a possibly haunted, and clearly unwanted, family estate in North Yorkshire. But when the body of the moody town groundskeeper turns up on her rug with 3 bullet holes in his back, Jo finds herself in potential danger. And she's also a potential suspect. At the same time, a peculiar family portrait vanishes from a secret room in the manor, bearing a strange connection to both the dead body and Jo's mysterious family history. With the aid of Welsh antiquities dealer, the morose local detective, and the Irish innkeeper's wife, Jo embarks on a mission to clear herself of blame and find the missing painting. And we will end Valentine's Week on some romances. Our first one up is going to be Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. Wells Whitaker was once golf's hottest rising star, but lately, all he has showing for his promising career is a killer hangover, a collection of broken clubs, and one remaining supporter. No matter how bad he plays, the beautiful sunny redhead is always on the sidelines. He curses, she cheers. He scowls, she smiles. But when Wells quits in a blaze of glory and his fangirl finally goes home, he knows he's made the greatest mistake of his life. Josephine Doyle believed in the gorgeous, grumpy golfer, even when he didn't believe in himself. Yet after he throws in the towel, she begins to wonder if her faith was misplaced. Then a determined Wells shows up at her door with a wild proposal. Be his new caddy, help him turn his game around, and split the prize money. And considering Josephine's professional and personal life is in shambles, she could really use the cash. As they travel together, spending days on the green and nights in neighboring hotel rooms, sparks fly. Before long, they're inseparable. Wells starts winning again, and Josephine is surprised to find a sweet, thoughtful guy underneath his gruff, growly exterior. This hot man wants to brush her hair, feed her snacks, and take bubble baths together? Is this real life? But Wells is technically her boss, and an athlete falling for his fangirl would be ridiculous, right? And then the next book in the Supernatural Singles series, Not Your Crush's Cauldron by April Asher. This one is following the third Maxwell triplet. Olive Maxwell much prefers teaching about the supernatural world to taking part in it, and leaves the magical shenanigans to her two sisters. After assigning her college students a project designed to nudge them outside their comfort zone, Olive realized she's never once stepped toe out of her own, and it's about time that changed. Her first trip into the unknown, moving in with her longtime crush and friend, tattooed, motorcycle riding, and pleasantly pierced Baxter Donovan. Bax Donovan, guardian angel not so extraordinaire, has acquired so many black marks on his record it looks like a Scantron test. He's been given one last chance to keep his guardian wings, a high-profile assignment he knows all too well. Olive is usually as low risk as it gets. Hell, she wrote the safety manual, but something landed her on the guardian angel affairs radar, and he guessed it is. It has something to do with the heart-pounding stunts she's determined to check off her dare I docket list. Our last one might be almost romantic-y. Maybe it is. It's The Fall of Jericho by Sidney Applegate. Jericho Morgan has been on a killing spree since his parents died and he assumed their throne. Blessed by the saints with prophetic visions that reveal what his next course of action should be as king, Jericho can glimpse into the lives of people he's never met, convict them of their sins, and then eliminate them for good. Needless to say, the last thing he expects to see is one of his visions is the girl from the marshes beckoning him to come find her. Venus d'Aragon has been struggling to keep her and her sisters afloat since one of the king's dreams sentenced their father to death. So when the king's guard and Jericho himself comes to take her away, Venus figures she's doomed. She's surprised, however, to soon be welcomed into Broadcove Castle by kind people and offered steady work on the king's land. Once she's confident in her survival, Venus knows exactly how to spend her time plotting revenge. While she's no assassin, Venus prepares to go to whatever lengths necessary to kill Jericho, including forming an unlikely alliance with him to gain his trust. But the more time they spend together, despite their mutual hatred, the more Venus and Jericho begin to realize that they may be divinely connected, because Venus is beginning to inherit Jericho's dreams, and Jericho is slowly starting to wonder if Venus is meant to be his dream come true. That's going to wrap up our list for this week. Maybe you found something new and exciting to add to your TBR or a new series to check out. And if you enjoyed this content, you can check out some of my other videos and subscribe if you like my style. We do these videos every Monday to find new books for you. I hope you're finding something awesome to read today, and I'll see you in the next one.